So for anybody that's watching online, we've just got a few more people going to be joining us in the room at St Paul's Cathedral chamber. We're just waiting for them to join us.
How many people are coming all together?
Always a bit of a crowd. It's always difficult to know who's going to turn up on these things.
Sorry?
It's difficult to know who's going to turn up on these things,
Yes.
you know, but it takes a surprisingly long time to actually get in to the cathedral and get up the lift and get in.
Yes, it's nice.
It does take a little time.
Who's this lady?
It's my wife, Sue. Indeed. You've met her before, I think.
In a pub somewhere.
In a pub somewhere in
It was
London.
probably just with the old term, some of the stories I should think.
How is Mike Chalk? Anything about it?
He's been unwell recently, but and he had a spell in hospital and he's back home, was the last I heard, but not doing terribly well from what I've heard.
But he was ill once before,
Yes, he was.
and Mark, his son, phoned me up and said, would you like to visit him in hospital?
Yes.
I seem to remember. And before that, he changed his job somehow in the same firm, but a different part of work.
Okay.
And as a result of that, he had a bit of a nervous breakdown.
Oh, that's a shame.
Because he found that he used to do a certain job, not quite, but checking on something being done. When he got moved up a stage, he found that the people who replaced him were not doing it properly. They were being very inefficient. She couldn't understand. So he got upset with them.
Well, that's not good.
Ben,
You know the audience through that?
Hello, Michael.
We are live streaming now, so
There's no sign of late, but Jem was going to send me a message if he turns up. Thank you very well. You okay? You're getting slow.
no, walking.
do come and sit wherever. We are live streaming already. So
Hello. How are you?
I'm like you and you. Hello, Michael. JHR, that's right. JHR, RCK.
I do sit wherever convenient. You'll probably be fine there, Chris. You'll probably be fine there. Cool. When the junior sourced himself out. Welcome everybody. We are already live streaming this and recording it. And my thanks once again to Ben for providing the technological support. And he's very, very good at that. Some years ago, George Pipe suggested I went to see Don Price to capture Don's early memories of ringing. This formed the basis of a newsletter article some years ago. I then planned to interview George prior to the 2019 dinner, but at the last minute he fell ill, so that never came to pass. However, the seed was sown by George that our senior members were full of interesting memories which should not be lost. So I thought it would be of interest to continue the idea. Today I'm delighted to have Michael Moreton with us. So thank you for coming, Michael. This ringing chamber must hold many memories for you. Tell us about some of the peals you've rung here. Some of the peals.
I can't remember. I think I've completed the circle. I think I have. But I'm sure if I'd known about this, I'd have just looked it all up.
So I don't think you've ever turned in the tenor single-handed though, have you?
No.
So why was that?
Well, that's I shouldn't say this really, but that was the sort of Chilcot idea of not knowing what one wanted to do. And so that was that. I did bring the tenor on its own. And when I first came up here, I should tell you about that. First came up here, Cyril Watts was the ringer here. He used to ring the 10th, and I lived quite close to him in Wimbledon. And I used to travel up with him on the underground to get here. But band here, I should tell you something else first, really. There was an extremely good band at St Stephen's, Rochester Row, possibly the best band in the country. They could ring silent peals of London Major, silent. They were very good. And when the Abbey had 8 bells instead of just 6, they were chosen to be the Abbey ringers. That's how the first lot of Abbey ringers was chosen. And then the ringers here, when I came up first, were quite a lot of those ringers, and the other ones had come from a tower in East London. I don't know which one it was now, but so that was what the band was. It was a mixture of these two lots. And it was more or less the same ringers in the morning and the afternoon, more or less, but not quite. And that went on for a while. I think, I've not thought about this and never spoken about it. I think the 2 wars and people being called up affected who was a ringer and who wasn't a ringer. But anyway, and then 1 or 2 people came along, sort of hang us on. One of them was Bill Cook. He wasn't a marvellous ringer, but he used to hang about, and occasionally he would be a little short or someone was late, and then he'd get a ring. That's how he got in. In the end, he got in. Someone else liked that too. But there was no one. So we used to ring more or less the same bell each time. I started off, I think I rang the 7th to start with, and then for a while I moved to the 2nd, I don't know why, and then I used to ring the 10th for a while, but on the 11th was Lord Williams used to ring here. The other ringers didn't like him much, but used to ring the tenor. And then one day, the people rang the 11th. There was, I'm going to forget names now. might tell you later who rang the 11th, but there were two of them, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, during the 11th. One day, neither of them were free to ring. They weren't here or something. And Wilf Williams got up on the 11th box. I think he wanted to know. And, oh no, I think one of the other, no, one of them was here, but was going to ring a different note. And this other one, who was in the end, one of the 11th ringers, says, he's not going to ring it. That little communist's not going to ring my bell and then totally get off. So that was the way they thought about it. What else happened?
So what about the Chilcots?
What?
Like the Chilcots, you must have run a lot with them as
Oh,
well.
well, John was the conductor. And originally, I think Mike Chilcot was doing national service or something when I first came to London. So I started ringing here. And but eventually he came back. Yes. And what else can I say?
I believe you rang in the peal for Winston Churchill's
I
funeral.
rang Churchill, yes. I think. Close. Oh. I might think of something else to say, but I can't. Bill Rawlings used to ring. We used to strap the tinner. And it had a long celly. I don't know if it still does, but it had a long celly. So the bottom of the floor could reach the celly. Handstroke.
And if it was often the case that the tenor was strapped, is that why they tended not to have single-handed peals at that time?
No, I don't think so. I mean, there were single-handed peals. Lord Alf Peck used to rang it, 1925. He rang the tenor, Alf Peck, look.
Yep.
And himself, 1928. There were single-handed peals. Yes. Certainly there were. But I don't know, it was sort of almost showing off to want to ring it on your own. They didn't like people who showed off. Yes, I think I've said most of what I'm going to say now.
So a lot of people won't have heard about the Flying Circus. Can you?
The Flying Circus.
Yes. So how did that name come about? Tell us about that.
That was really, it wasn't called the Flying Circus to start with, but I thought I wanted to arrange drawbell peals on all the drums, to see if I could. And so I started arranging peals. David Hilling used to call them, and usually I'd bring the 10 if I hadn't done it before. But we've got some very good ringers, like that man there. He's a Kippin, and Chris Rogers sang some, and so there were more or less the same group of 15 people. Yeah, and of course, because we ran a lot together, we got really good at it. And most of them I've got on tape at home, and I want to get them turned onto CDs, but it's a question of getting somebody to do it. I've had a couple done onto tape, so the people who are in them, I could give them a copy of it. And then we'd go around and ring appeals, wherever it was. And it got to be called the Flying Circus. I don't know who did that. Do you know what the original Flying Circus was?
Tell me.
No, it was a group of flyers, people who flew aircraft. I think they might have been in the first war, or I'm not sure where they were, but they were certainly a flying group, and they were very, very good at acrobatics in the air. And they were called the Flying Circus. And then whoever called us the Flying Circus was sort of copying that idea. Yes. We certainly did ring some good peals. Yes. I think I finished what I want to say now.
So you were brought up around Hereford.
Yes, my father was a canon in Hereford, My father's a canon, yes, in Hereford Cathedral, and my brother Wilfred, who was 8 years older than me, he learned to ring, and we went to All Saints. My father didn't think the cathedral was a good church to go to for children. So we both went to All Saints Church, and I learned to ring big bells at All Saints, Hereford. And when I could ring, then we rang at both. It was morning at All Saints, Cathedral in the evening. So we could ring at both. And that's how that worked.
Am I right in thinking your mother, did your mother go to St Paul's School? Someone mentioned it.
Hang on a minute. No, she went to James Allen Girls' School,
Right.
which is the girls' part of Dulwich College.
Right, okay.
She lived in Dulwich.
Right.
She went to James Allen Girls' School.
Okay.
Yes, that was that. Yes.
So, and I believe you did national service.
Oh, I certainly did.
Where was that?
2 years. I had to go. I was in the 8th Royal Tank Regiment, and I was up at Cathedral all the time. I had a choice of going to Germany at one point. I didn't want to go to Germany. I didn't like the Germans. So I didn't want to go there, thank you. And it was all right, but I got an offer of a nice, easy, cushy job in an office up at Cathedral, and so I accepted that. And the thing was, I should have learned to drive, and I hardly ever got in the tank. I should have learned to drive both. You know how a tank is driven?
I have actually driven a tank.
Oh, you've driven all this time all about it. That's very interesting. Yes. So, what was I saying?
Yes.
Oh yes, I was up there. I used to go ringing in Darlington, and that was nice. And we rang peals once a month. We rang surprise minor peals, and then I used to go up on a Sunday. I'd go all the way up to Newcastle occasionally. They used to ring up there, and I rang my first, I was going to say my first field 12, but I think I may have run one somewhere else first. My memory's not good, but I certainly rang first field Maximus at Newcastle Cathedral, and jolly good too. But the parks were the ringers in Darlington, very good, and Norman Park and Roland Park, and other peals around up there. First bit of Surprise Royal around up there. Yes, that was good. Can't say I enjoyed it, but it was all right. Yes, it's okay.
And you've also had quite an association with Westminster Abbey as well, haven't you, and the ringing there?
Absolutely. Westminster Abbey. Yes. I think of it. I can't understand how I can forget things.
There must have been some wonderful occasions that you rang for there.
Oh yes. When Queen's sister got married, probably when she died too, I think. But I can't remember all of them. She warned me. I thought my book along. She got on all the time because these other people could talk to you, aren't they?
You also started the handbell band, the handbell band of Cornhill
Oh
Vestry.
yes.
What prompted you to start
What
that?
happened about that was at a college youth meeting, we used to ring handbells at the end of the meeting. just a bit of Stedman triples or something. And because of that, I suggested to Bill Cook, who's a good handwriter, that that we could go for a appeal. And the corner vestry was the obvious place because we had the keys. That was central. So we started doing that. I organised them at that time. And yes, we used to raise 7 sinks. 7 sinks only. I'm not saying we didn't do occasional appeal cases if for some reason we couldn't get 12 bells. So that was corner vestry, yes.
And that's a legacy that still continues.
Well, in the end, I decided I'd done enough of that. I had a bit of an ache in my side or something, so I thought I'll hand over to young Paul. There he is. Yes. His church is named after him, look.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
I was wondering if anybody else had any questions they'd like to ask. Michael.
Going back to your appeals and reports, do you remember an occasion when you and Ray Cousins had taken part in the appeal at the Abbey?
Bit louder, please.
Sorry. Do you remember an occasion
Yes,
when you and Ray Cousins
yes.
had taken part in an appeal at the Abbey in the morning or earlier in
Oh,
the
yes.
day, and then
You
came
back
here and ran an appeal here
Yes, that's
in the
right.
evening?
We did, yes.
That was quite a
That was
feat.
quite a good thing, yes. What happened was, we got the bus from the Abbey up here, and we had, it was only about a 20 minutes interval between the end of one appeal and the beginning of the next. And that's what happened. And yes, I was trying to think, you were asking me how I got involved in the Abbey. Don't know. Was it to do with possibly Sir Watts? Didn't he really?
Sarah Watts wasn't happy really.
Yes, well, he probably proposed me or something, I expect, because we ran here together. Probably that was it. Yes, I want to remember it though.
But Michael, if I may just sort of jog your memory a bit, I think it was when you became a member of the Abbey Company.
Yes.
It was a time when several of the older members were retiring.
Oh, yes.
So there were a number of, I think there were a number of vacancies. So
Yes.
you obviously were a supernumerary to start with, but I think you soon became a principal, didn't you? At the Abbey?
I became a principal at some point. Yes.
Well, quite early on, I think, soon after.
Probably,
Yes.
I don't remember.
I believe that's so.
But,
When I was looking
yes.
into the history of it
There
some
were,
years ago
there were
now.
just 8 members. I think there were
Yeah.
just 8.
Yeah.
And you could, he's the, you're the secretary now, still, aren't you?
No. Then I gave up being secretary 7 years ago. David Durnley is secretary. Yes. A very, very, very good secretary too.
So there I'm good at forgetting. Very good at forgetting. Yes.
I think the flying circus, Michael has a slight gap in his memory there. The original flying circus may have been aeronautics, but the name was half-hitched by Monty Python. And it was Monty Python's Flying Circus, which was a program on the television.
Oh,
And it was Wilfred Williams
yes.
who then christened it Charlie Chance's Flying Circus.
Oh, yeah.
Wilfred was very good at the bon mot, even if it was at someone else's expense. Now, can you remember how you became Charlie Chance?
I think I have a funny way of catching the Sally sometimes. I pull it down the back and then at the last minute I get hold of it. I think that was it. And Will Williams was good at giving people nasty names. This was a sort of insult to me. I mean, I didn't care what he called me. But that's, I think, why he did it. Only chance, yes.
I've been thinking about this quite a lot, Michael.
Yes,
And what I want to know is, after your long ringing career,
yes.
is there anything ringing-wise that you regret that you haven't done, that you wished you'd done, that somehow escaped you?
Well, turning the tenor in here.
Yeah, I'm saying that.
Yes. Sure.
Any others, do you think? That's obviously the biggest one,
Oh,
because you're so
well,
attached to this tower.
I wanted to turn the tenor in at Exeter, but
That was the other thing he said.
I can't remember now. I can't remember what happened about that. I think I might have thought about it, but I don't think I ever.
You had 3 goes at Exeter,
Yes,
and the first occasion, which was in the middle 1960s,
oh yes,
David got the bells at quite short notice.
oh yes,
We didn't have the band that I think you would have liked,
yes.
but we, for some reason, went for 6 Spliced with Lincolnshire in it. Didn't think it was necessarily the wisest decision, and we ran about, oh gosh, half a peal, I think, something. We went again.
With me on the tenor.
Yes,
Oh,
we went again,
yes,
subsequent occasion, the Stedman Sings
Yes.
with you on the tenor.
yes.
And I think you would have rung it that time, only we lost the peal after an hour and a quarter or something
Oh, yes.
with a shift, which was quite amazing, really. 2 front bells went over, and that was the end of that. And then we went again a lot later and had another go.
Yes.
I can't remember now whether it was 6 or Maxim's, but you were not well. You went for the peal, but we didn't score.
Oh.
It was during the time when you were leading up to your heart operation.
Oh, yes.
That's,
So,
we certainly went 3 times.
yes. That's how good I am at forgetting you, see.
Excellent.
Anything else?
I was going to say, Michael, obviously you were master of College East some time ago. Can you tell us what the ringing was like when you were master, and how many people you were getting along and things like that?
Say that again.
What the ringing was like? What methods were you ringing when you were master of the College East?
Well, at that time, when I first started training the volunteers, we used to train such a Stedman and our course of practice. We always, and the Maxims might vary slightly, but not much. It was usually Cambridge or something equally easy. You might remember that more than I do.
I'm not sure I came when you were master. I think.
No, not when I was master. But when you first came up here for a college's practice stuff,
Yes,
what was wrong?
Cambridge and Yorkshire,
Cambridge
and a lot of stones. That was the extent of it when I first came to London at the end of sort of 1963-4.
And how many people were you getting along on a practice night?
To make sure they all had a ring. I don't know, but I would guess about 80, something like this. So we had, some of them would just ring, be asked to ring, and just get home, they'd be asked to ring. And some of them would only ring Stedman, so they obviously would sing. Then some of them would graduate a bit. So, I suppose.
I think when I first started coming to practices in the 60s,
Yes,
Cathedral Maximus was still being run sometimes.
oh, yes,
Is that right?
yes,
Or 3 metres of Kent.
yes, I'd forgotten that.
Yes.
That's right.
Michael, also, do you have any advice for future masters at the colleges?
Sorry?
Do you have any advice for future masters at the colleges? What would you say? I'm asking for a friend.
Hey. Nice to give them. Make sure everybody gets a ring. Can't think of anything to say so much.
We'll try and make sure everybody gets a ring though.
Are there any more questions?
Do you remember the occasion of the goblin in the cupboard?
Yes, we were on tour somewhere, weren't we?
Manchester.
Manchester, we were on tour. And, that's right. As a joke, I don't know who did it, it might have been you.
No, I wasn't there.
Somebody.
I know who.
Somebody, as a joke. There was a vacuum cleaner, and they put it in a cupboard in my bedroom, and the leave to work it went out of the room. They waited until I was sort of only getting into bed or in bed, and they turned it on. I thought there was a goblin in there.
You must have done a lot of touring around different places.
Well, I had to around, yes. I mean, yeah, I tended to go on a tour. To have been to a place you didn't want to necessarily go there again. Tended to tour, you took a good band with you. So that's how that worked. Yes.
And abroad as well, you've mentioned America.
Oh, yes, well, my brother had been invited to ring the first peal, Washington Cathedral. He was one of 10 ringers, 10 very good ringers, including George Clive and who else? Well, there was a whole band of them. I think
John Chilcott was one.
John
wasn't
Chilcott, yes. George Fern, I think, would have been one. Well, I can't remember that, but anyway, because my brother had been out there for the cathedral first peal, when they came to another peal out there, which was at the post office tower, I was invited to go. And the fare was paid for by the Ditchling Trust, which was set up to cement friendship between England and America, Europe and Britain and America. So my fare was paid, but I think the peal was on the day after New Year's Day or something. So I had to fly out there New Year's Day. Day after New Year's Day. No. Day before New Year's Day. We went for the peal on the day of Tess Edge or something. I forgot what it said.
New Year's Day.
New Year's Day, yes. I think it was New Year's Day, yes. So I told you about the joke about these Americans going up to film crowds below and that business of the tower moves. Yes. We were quite shaken.
Literally.
We're holding the cameras for this big. And they were balanced on the battlements. We could easily have pulled it up and killed several people. They pulled it all the way down. But it was rather like Trafalgar Square is crowded with people, I think, isn't it, at that time? It was the same arrangement in America. Yes. Those have I been.
Did you go to Australia at all?
Oh, oh yes, that's right. I had a cousin who lived in Australia, and he came over to England. This cousin, and said he wanted to stay a few nights with all his cousins. You see, which was kind of him to invite himself. They all accepted him. Then how did it happen? Someone invited me to stay over there. Oh yes, he invited me to stay over there. He phoned up and said, "Would you like me to come and stay for a week?" And I kept quite quiet. He said, "Oh, a fortnight." So I said, "Oh, a fortnight." So I went out there, stayed with him, and he lived in Tasmania. Tasmania's got bells, hasn't it? Yes. I think I rang a peal in Tasmania because there was a visiting band. Bill Deason and some others were on tour there. Were you there? No. But I was lucky to ring a peal there.
Can I come in on that?
Yes,
Because
come
there is
in.
a sequel to this, which Michael might not know about. That when Heather and I, in a big party, largely Bristol people, went to Australia in 1991, went to Hobart, Tasmania, and on the outskirts of Hobart is a big mountain. You should go up. We went up there, and there's a cafe on the top. We went in there, got talking to the person running it. We said that we were English bell ringers, and his immediate question was, "Do you know Wilf Moreton?" So it must have been your cousin, someone associated with that family. Yeah, so just amazing coincidence.
Yes.
Does anyone else have any other questions?
I think the other part of your ringing life, Michael, has
Oh, yeah.
been South Croydon.
Yes.
Amongst the other things you've done was getting a regular field band.
Yes,
A regular field band there at South Croydon.
so what happened was, Alan Frost, who's not only a very good friend and all that, but he is a good architect and he designed the sound control South Croydon. This is when they pretend. And works beautifully. And so when I was there, we could go for a field and we liked, because we just shut the sound control and ran field, which was very useful. We were going to appear every 10 dog field. Was it every week or every month or something?
I think it was most weeks.
Most weeks, yes, we very much of them. And then eventually, of course, got 2 more bells put in. It's very useful to have a 12 you can ring when you like. It's a very useful thing to be able to do. And that was that. But
So how many peals have you rung there?
I don't know. Do you know I've lost my field book? It's at home somewhere, but I can't find it. I've marked a lot of fields there. I think at least 100, I should think, probably. And I'm trying to tell you something. Oh yes, Alan Frost. Got to tell you, he did something to do with the Queen.
Was it after the fire
What?
at Windsor? Was it after the fire at Windsor Castle? Wasn't he involved in that?
Yes, that's right. He was called in after the fire, Windsor Castle, to supervise the repairs. And because of that, he got a medal. He's a NOR, I think it's NOR or something. But what is it?
It's LVO, I think, which is the
LVO.
Lieutenant of the Victoria.
That's
Order.
Lieutenant.
That's the honour that's completely in the gift of Her Majesty. the
Yes.
Queen. It's not,
But
there's
why?
no political involvement in that.
Because in the past, there was some very good work in the castle, which had been covered up by Victorians. The Victorians loved covering good work up, and this had been burnt. So Alan said to the people in the house, there's no point in putting that back. It wasn't terribly good, and it hid a lot of very good work. So that's why he got this medal. Yes, Lieutenant of the Victoria Order, yes. Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Michael, for spending the time. It's been absolutely fascinating. And I think it's wonderful that you've been able to share all those stories with us. So thank you very much for spending the time with us. Thank you.
First field, scientific triples. We've heard of it.
Yeah.
Scientific triples. And I think I've got that on tape too. I used to try and tape all my peels, you know, if they were something special, like a trial or.
And the conductor of that peal rings regularly with us still at Guildford Cathedral.
There you go.
The conductor of that peal of scientific triples, Robin Leal.
Oh, Robin Neal.
Robin is still very much alive and well and bringing with us every week at Guildford.
Good.
The peal took place at Hampton in Middlesex.
Yes. Yes, he was a good ringer.
Robin is still a good ringer, but since he came back to ringing after long layout, he has not run peal.
Oh.
He won't now.
So there we are. I've given up towbell ringing now, more or less, because I went for one at South Croydon on the 4th, I think, and when I stood up to the rope, I felt I was going off to the right, and after about an hour, I fell over.
You sat in the fire bucket. You sat in the fire bucket.
He said you sat in the fire bucket.
When you
Oh, yes.
sat down, you missed the sea, you went to the fire bucket.
Yeah. She took the rope. With the rope, I've still got the rope.
That's a very important lesson. Don't ever let go.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you all for coming. Do let me have any feedback about this, and we'll see whether it's something worth doing again in future years.
Would you like someone else to speak now?
Just you, Michael. You're the important one.
Oh, I thought you guys would. You're always good.
No.
We were audience.
Michael is lining them up for another year.
That's
And then they get those maturity.
What you said?
Said I'm lining them up for another
Oh,
year.
yes. How are we going to get?
We will get. I'll get you a taxi down to that direction. Now we've still got a bit of time. There will be people in the venue, or we can find there's still. We could go to the pub and have a beer, or somewhere for a coffee. What would work with you? What would you like to? Okay. Or we can go to. I guess there'll still be people at the lunchtime pub. So we,
Now,
yeah, so we
Yeah.
can go